Okay, testing. Let's see, can you hear me? Okay, let me make sure. I don't know why. If there was an upgrade. Okay, it looks like everything's working. Testing, can you hear me? Okay, testing. All right. Okay, everything's working now. All right, I don't know if they did upgrades, what's going on, but it resets my audio input every time. So I have to be very careful. Um, that used to not be the case. So anyway, we'll deal with it. So today, thank you everyone for coming on. This is day 1747 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks and his life was taken, and they absolutely, in cartel fashion, um, very disrespected his remains, which is a huge crime. Okay. Huge crime in itself. The murder is a big crime. The forcibly removing him is a big crime. The disrespecting his remains, his corpse, is a big crime. And the crimes just pile up, pile up. And so, of course, with all the crimes piling up, the the need for the cover up to intensify at all kinds of levels in this is huge. And we have confirmed that this is cartel tied, and the cartel tie is also with strings to the CCP. Okay, it's just that's what's going on here, and that's why it's always been so big, because and more information is coming out, like I've been telling you, and we're trying to wrap our brains around all of this new intel that has been released. And I can tell you this, that this Marco list, the Marco list, is, that's a new name for it. But the building of this list, what we know of it, what has been released, is 44 names of, uh, I would say, politicians and others in Mexico that they knew, including Mexican generals, trying to make sure that I first understand it all before I really talk about it. But this list was being built before the Walmart mass shooting. It was, like I said, we know for a fact, evidence confirms that there were audits and investigations going on before the Walmart mass shooting of August 3rd, 2019. August 3rd just happens to be Dallas Hart's birthday. I just think that that is very interesting, because absolutely Leilani Hart is connected to all of this. She needs to be arrested right away. And Dallas Hart, Richard's platoon leader, is the prime suspect in Richard's murder case, including his mother, Leilani Hart, including her, including a CID agent, Tavita Nusa, including him being a prime suspect in Richard's murder case. But going back to Marco's list, that is named after Marco Rubio, which is very interesting because Marco Rubio was our senator at the time this happened, because we were living in Florida. And he absolutely responded to us. And we didn't know at the time that they had an investigation going on. Um, we didn't know that they had this criminal trafficking cartel network investigation going on. And So they have been building this name before, and this, I want to call the Walmart mass shooting the Walmart mass shooting mutiny. Okay, I really do, because it was a mutiny. The evidence that we have confirms that it was a mutiny against the Trump administration's investigation and auditing of the cartel criminal trafficking syndicate network that was at our southern border, between Juarez, Mexico, and El Paso, and going. It's a criminal trafficking. So, um, and I'm sure there's more to it than that, but this is for what Richard saw. What Richard was reporting on was absolutely now confirmed. He was reporting on the criminal trafficking, hundreds of thousands of children. Then subsequently, because of what happened in 2020, then in March of 2021, it went turbo. It went turbo. The criminal trafficking, when it comes to children, went turbo in March of 2021, and they built that emergency intake center, 10,000 beds, so 10,000 children at a time. And of course, General John Kelly knows all about this. Um, and he's dirty. He's so dirty. And he was working for the governor of Chihuahua. Um, so, of course, and he had access to intel in the United States because of his positions. And so this investigation has been going on for years. And now this Marco list has been released. And what is real, and it's named after Marco Rubio. And Marco Rubio is the Secretary of State. Okay, he's the Secretary of State. So normally these investigations would be the justice system, right? The Department of Justice would be the ones investigating, the FBI would be the ones investigating. Well, this investigation was the Department of State. Okay. Why? Well, because of the visas, because of wanting to get into the country and using these visas to be up to no good. And that is all coming out, and what they're doing um, with stealing identities and, um, you know, fraudulent visas, like what Veronica Escobar did as the county judge for El Paso. She gave a fraudulent visa to Mario Raskin Ortiz, the chief medical examiner, who earns what, 440,000 dollars a year. I mean, it's just like way over 700 times more, I think, than what a normal person in El Paso County earns. Now, it is a judicial and medical position, and it's very, very important because of witnessing for the manner and cause of death. So it absolutely deserves um, to be paid well, right? And the taxpayers recognize that and approve this kind of payment for that position. But we want someone legal, right? Not a botched medical examiner who will botch um, every case that has, um, well, a capital, well, a body, right? A body. Um, just like these visas, they've been botching, and this Marco list, which is so interesting, because it absolutely corroborates what Richard was reporting. And also, what was Governor Abbott doing this whole time, right? What was Governor Abbott doing the whole time? What was Veronica Escobar doing the whole time? They're absolutely aiding and abetting the cartel criminal trafficking through with our infiltrating into our military. And it's just a huge national security threat, right? A national security threat and absolute theft of the American people. I mean, these two are the scum of the earth, right? They are just the scum because we have entrusted so much power, so many committees into Veronica Escobar being a representative. She has to be voted in, right? And the same thing with Governor Abbott. We have entrusted to him our security of Texas. And Texas, if it is huge economy, larger than most countries in the world. It just has a huge economy. It is a very, very powerful position to be the governor of Texas, and he's totally aiding and abetting. He needs to be arrested, um, because what is he doing? And now this Marco list confirms that this was going on at the border and that it was institutional sanctioning of criminal trafficking, which then went turbo in March of 2021 with 10,000 children at a time, hundreds of thousands of children that now are now mostly dead. And y'all, I'm being very G rated. Okay, I'm being very G rated compared to the information that we get. And of course, um the Juarez mayor is listed in one of those 44. He is listed as suspected of participating in human trafficking. And our intelligence absolutely confirmed these accusations. And so, there's a reason why he's on the Marco list, right? And he that corroborates what Richard was reporting. And of course, they are going to those that are making money off of the criminal trafficking, which are people in suits, like the Mayellas in the federal courthouse, like those that are in the prosecuting office in El Paso, the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. And Bill Hicks is a great example of how compromised and how corrupt um, a usurper can be. Okay, so it's not enough that he was a usurper; he was also taking full advantage of his usurpation and bringing in Luis Rene Diaz. Who was indicted and will release that indictment. We have his indictment with Arturo Alba. And these are huge connections with those that were up to no good in Richard's case and also the Walmart mass shooting case. This is all connected to the mutiny of the Walmart mass shooting and, of course, the murder of our son, Richard Halliday, and the subsequent cover up of it, which includes because Luis Rene Diaz is not just nobody, right? He was managing the DA's office there. And that means he had access to all the cases, and he could, control those cases, just like Michael Mayella, being the federal courthouse manager, and being able to have access to all the cases and um, and be up to no good. Just like his son in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza and James 2028 stamp Montoya. So, very, very conflicted, very, very corrupt, compromised, and now it is being confirmed that the Mayella Crucius family, the DA's office, the courthouse, none of this criminal trafficking, with all the money laundering, with all the fraudulent contracts. You're talking about millions and billions of dollars. We should have the most beautiful cities. And you saw President Trump now in Saudi Arabia. And I posted up his arrival there and the pomp and circumstance of that arrival. And, if you haven't looked at Saudi Arabia, if you haven't traveled around the world, I highly recommend it, because then you'll say, what the heck? We are, the biggest economy, and we don't have buildings like that. We don't have, um, we're not getting the progression in our infrastructure like that, and our businesses are not keeping up with the times. And so, with President Trump bringing that back to a golden age, he calls it the golden age. And what he's trying to tell you is, we need to be admired, right? We need to be admired, because when you're admired, then you're feared and you're safer, right? So, him arriving in Saudi Arabia in beauty like that, with that top notch beast of a vehicle, the top of the top, a state of the art beast, being escorted by Saudi Arabians on the finest horses, holding the flags of the United States and of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Um, it was just a magnificent pomp and circumstance, and that's why I covered the Pope too, bringing back the pomp and circumstance, the civilized world. It's because in order to have that, and that's why I love Byzantium right behind my court, right behind my back there. Um, is because when you have a successful country, you have beautiful buildings, you have beautiful art, you have beautiful music, state of the art, right? State of the art. So this is really important, because in order to have that, you have to have law enforcement. Where you have law enforcement that has been sabotaged, then you have a real chaos. You have a real mess. You have, barbarianism. You have a devolution of your towns. We saw that when we went into Dresden after 50 years of communism, where they couldn't even get a can of paint. And so you had the buildings literally, nets around the buildings and along the sidewalks over you, because the buildings were falling apart, and you didn't want to be hit in the head with a big stone and killed, right? So we saw the rebuilding of Dresden, when communism fell. And so you have to have, instead of those that are above the law, and that's really what communism is just serfdom, right? It's just really evil. And you have these people, a very few people living, the high life, while everyone else is suffering. Um, and then they're saying everybody's equal. Well, well, they're not equal. Um, so, to see that being rebuilt, and people that work hard, um, getting the fruits of their labor finally, was, a huge lesson. And Richard was part of that. Richard saw that. Um, he went on those Luther tours with us. He went to Dresden. He got to see the rebuilding of the most magnificent, the Frauenkirche, which is a double dome church. You can look that up. It's magnificent in Dresden, Germany. He, he had this sense, of what law and order can bring. Um, the absolute beauty that it can bring. And when you have lawlessness, like the cartel, like these generals that are cartel tied, and absolute treasonous because the cartel has strings to the CCP, right? So they're aiding and abetting um, a foreign enemy, foreign and domestic enemies. That's what they're doing. And so this whole Marco list is really important to understand that it was the Department of State uh, investigate. Though that is uncommon that the Department of State are the investigators, but that's what happened here because it was absolutely in that domain with the visas and the I'm sure passports. I'm sure all kinds of identification, using all of that for the banking, for coming into the country, for buying property, for money laundering. Because when you're talking about, all the banking, when you're talking about billions of dollars in criminal trafficking, be it with drugs, be it with children, be it with the sex trafficking, be it with weapons, equipment, ammunition, even organs. That money has to go somewhere, and you need identification to launder the money. So this really important that this is going on, that they are absolutely shutting down bank accounts and stuff like that. And how could they do that? Well, because they have designated the cartel. They're no longer just criminals. They are the big T organization, the TERR, right? The big T organization. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say it because, you might get um, shadow banned or whatever. But they are absolutely enemies of humanity and of our country. And so, because of that, because of what President Trump did on day one, January 20th, and on January 24th, remember, he designated Richard as in the line of duty because he absolutely has a history with Richard Halliday. He has a history, okay? Because this is all part of it. Richard's whistleblowing, his witness was very, very important to this investigation uh, in 2019. And so there was a mutiny. That mutiny was, of course, the Walmart shooting. And you look at that shooting and with the video, this Lionel Gutierrez, the El Paso Police Department, off duty police, the more police that we talk to about this, and putting together the timeline that he was going to the movies and he saw this man bleeding, waving him down, and that he took him to the hospital and then left him there, and then he came back and then he helped other people and he was hearing shots and everything. Look, the whole thing, the shooting part, was, we're told it was a lone shooter, right? And it was 2 minutes, 2 minutes. So what, this whole story from this El Paso police officer that was off duty, um, and you know, eh, what in the world? What in the world? having private ambulances being called there. And that video that I put up, and Ernest being shot twice by an AK-47 style rifle with these type of bullets that really do a lot of damage inside your body. Um, sorry, sorry, that much time, that much blood loss. And then, oh yeah, I had some help, compression, this and that. The timing of it all, it is all, someone's nose is growing very, very long. Okay? Someone's nose is growing very, I think a lot of people's noses are growing very, very long. We have a lot of Pinocchios here. Okay? A lot of Pinocchio before his Reformation. Uh, you know, we have a lot of long-nosed Pinocchios here. And we're not fools. El Paso is not fools. The media is absolutely sold out. They're absolutely sold out because if we can put together Arturo Alba, who was executed, with Moya was also, also a cartel leader that was executed, with Luis Rene Diaz, who was working, managing, um, the district attorney's office under the usurper Bill Hicks, without being vetted, without having a background check, just everything, just bringing this and this criminal into the DA's office and not having a prosecutor, and then them really pushing Beto before that, so that they didn't want Donald Trump again. Okay, they did not want Donald Trump again because Donald Trump, is absolutely investigating, and he is absolutely enforcing the law. And that is what this Marco list is, telling, that people have been naysayers and, to us for, and I think those were agents. Okay, because we've had, a lot that have cheered us on all the way. But a lot of people, are like, you'll never, this is too big, this is too big, what do you do, this is too big. And, we're like, that's not our problem. Our problem is doing our duty for our son, doing our duty for our country, exposing this crime, and even not knowing how big this crime is. Um, just keep on going and exposing it, because, that's what you need to do to save your country. That's what you need to do to, get justice for your son, who clearly, they were absolutely, wasn't enough what they did to his physical, what they did to his, they wanted to destroy his name. They wanted to destroy his career, everything. And, it was just absolutely absurd. They didn't give us any reasons, any good reasons at all, no proof at all. I mean, he's sparkling clean. He's an absolutely uncompromised hero. Okay, which, that doesn't come, there's a lot of heroes, and there's stolen valor heroes here with, Lionel Gutierrez, the El Paso Police Department off-duty police officer, and Ernest Christopher Grant, who is proven to be a stolen valor hero, trying to make himself out to be like this big hero, and the media just, sweethearting him all the way, not vetting him like they didn't, vet, um, um, Luis Rene Diaz in the DA's office. Okay. So, what do you need to know in this? You need to know that the State Department, absolutely has been conducting an investigation and has uncovered and is acting, getting justice, actually getting justice, because of the criminal trafficking going on at our southern border, and that it involves politicians. It involves people that wear suits. It involves high players, players in high places, people that you didn't even think that would be doing this that are doing it. And absolutely, I can tell you on the El Paso side, because that's the Mexican side, if on the Mexican side you have mayors and you have generals and you have governors that are, uh, uh, listed as being involved in the criminal trafficking, we would be very short sighted to think that that doesn't happen in El Paso and on Fort Bliss. And we know through Kayla Cardona that Lieutenant General Sean Cardona Bernabe is cartel-tied and up to no good and obstructed Richard's case, and absolutely was conspiring to cover up, and allowed for the targeting of our soldiers to continue under his watch. Same thing with James Eisenhower, same thing with Taylor now. So, it's the same thing with so many of these generals. So, of course, we have compromised generals that are absolutely treasonous in what they're doing. And of course, we have with Governor Abbott, with Veronica Escobar, narco politicians, right? Politicians that are part or aiding and abetting the cartel criminal trafficking. Same thing with Bill Hicks, Bill a usurper Hicks, and his office. Same thing with James, Mr. 2028 stamp. Montoya, same thing that's going on with the Mayela Crucius family. Very clear that these judges, Judge Samadrano, Joe Spencer, absolutely were taking advantage of the system and squeezing the taxpayers for millions of dollars to defend Patrick Crucius, who they knew that would never go to trial, that never they would not do the death penalty, that they would always do what they're doing because they could never go to trial because they never wanted the evidence exposed of their mutiny, right? Their involvement with the Mexican cartel criminal operatives that are named on this Marco list. Um, and that includes Leilani Hart, that includes Kyla Cardona, that includes multiple people, because this is $1 billion industry. This is not for nickels and dimes, as Joe Spencer doesn't like. He doesn't like the nickels and dimes. He goes for the big bucks. And this is for the big bucks, the not even millions. This is for the billions. This is for the billions of dollars, not nickels and dimes. And of course, anywhere where there's a lot of money, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, Leilani Hart, Kyla Cardona, they want a piece of the action. Okay, they want a piece of the action. And, that's very, very clear in all of the evidence that we have, that this is an institutionally sanctioned um, criminal trafficking Mexican cartel grip on beautiful El Paso. And El Paso, you know, I was born at White Sands Missile Range, which is very close to El Paso. Okay, White Sands Missile Range. I'm one of the very, very few children that ever was born on the range. I was born on the range. Um, it was a little clinic there, right? A little clinic. My parents, my dad was working on the Nike and the Hawk missiles and all that. And yeah, my mom learned how to drive on the White Sands. Um, she loved it there. That was her first experience in the United States. Um, yeah, and I was born there, and then they closed it. They closed it. They opened it. They closed it right away. And then most babies were born there at William Beaumont. Like my husband's three siblings were born there at William Beaumont. Both of us have histories, long histories in the El Paso area, Fort Bliss, El Paso, um, going over to Juarez, seeing the Rio Grande, which had a lot more water then than it does now. I think we have some, I think President Trump called them water mafias. Water mafias, I think that there's, the time has come for the golden age. And in order for that golden age to come, we have to have law and order. And uh, we received this information to let us know that they are absolutely acting, that it is a Mexico, Texas issue for El Paso, for our son, for Fort Bliss. It is a Texas, it is also then a military problem, and that they are absolutely acting on the January 20th designation of the uh, of the Mexican cartel being a T organization, because in order to stop the visas, freeze the bank accounts, yada yada yada, they have to be from the federal point of view designated the T organizations. That's why that was so important, um, that they are enemies of this country, so that the federal government can enforce the laws. So that is, thank you, Martha, for coming on. So it's happening. And, of course, we want everything to happen very, very quick all the time. We want our son's remains. We want justice for our son. We want people to be arrested. Um, Absolutely. And so we're going to continue. And more is being exposed, just like this Juarez mayor now being exposed for engaging in human trafficking. So there's 44 names on the list. Um, and I'm sure that was released to us. I'm sure there's probably more, but 44 that, and I don't think they're going to get everyone. Okay. I'm just telling you, there's just so many um, people that have been compromised in this. I don't think they're going to get everyone. God will, but but we have to stop the syndicate. And so I think that, just like they arrested the main guy for in Salt Lake City, outside of Salt Lake City, big military contractor, doing the criminal trafficking. So, this is all happening, and it looks like the judges are being called out and stopped for what they're doing, for their obstruction. And, it's, we'll see. We'll see what President Trump and his administration, what they do. I think it's pretty sensitive, pretty big and pretty sensitive. It makes Iran-Contra look like child's play compared to this. So our concern is our son's remains and getting justice for our son. Um, and they know it, and they know it. So we're going to continue to identify, document, and file um, the crimes that we are finding day in and day out. Just to give you an example, I think it was early this morning or late last night. I think like 250 emails from us went out. I think that is, just to let everyone know that we are working very, very hard behind the scenes in a huge way, to understand what's going on, to identify the crime that's going on, to document it, and to file it so that we can um, bring in the golden age, right? Bring in the golden age. Because I think that El Pasoans, like so many of us, are really sick and tired of these thieves, these total thieves, and these liars, these false witnesses, the scheming, the con jobs, the conspiring, the murders. Of course, the murders, right? So, we're meeting it head on, meeting it head on with justice, doing it the right way, and sometimes that takes a little bit of time. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I hope that you will post more about this Marco list tomorrow. And I want to post some more about the 911 fire dispatchers and about Christopher Ernest Christopher Grant and um, all what happened and compared to the video that that shows the uh, right after Alexander Gerhard Hofmann Roth, who is the German national, when he got shot in the Walmart. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I can't even imagine how hard that is for his family, his children, to see. I can't even imagine. So I just can't even imagine. Um, so we'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Thank you so